Hello Tamers, Sergio back in game, and well, on to day 3 to BT21's release. And well, we continue going down the line for Liberator hype as we end up taking a look at the newly upgraded Ghost deck, which I was pretty much very interested in given how the deck plays. And well, once again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this around to help with the algorithm. And let's crack into it. And now on to the egg deck. And starting off, for my main lineup, ends up being a 4-1 split between BT20 Demimera and BT3 Demimera for my own choice. And pretty much with BT20 Mera at the forefront, given that it helps with recurring your pieces whenever a stack blows up. And then following that, with BT3 Demimera being the secondary and 5th egg for the deck, as it pretty much ends up being a draw engine to, well, draw 1 and then sub trash for later plays. And as another tech option to possibly substitute in would be BT16 Digimon, since it also plays into the decks wanting to have, capitalizing on deletes and blowing up their own stacks. Digimon allows you to set up trash while also gaining back memory, which also plays into some of the memory tricks this deck also has. That's it for the egg deck. Now on to the rookie lineup. And then for my look at the rookie lineup, ends up seeing a 4-2-2-2 split between the new BT20 Ghostmon, BT3 Sukaimon, BT20 Kennelmon, and then BT16 Ukomon. Since for the most part, Ghost is still lacking its archetypal Digivolve reduction, though that ends up being fixed come BT21, since we are getting a new Liberator Ghostmon from there. Going over this such, BT20 Ghostmon is the searcher of the deck, while Candlemon ends up being a retail body that also grants a able to snipe out a level 4 lower body. Suka here to also add to the number of memory gain on Lead Inheribles. And then Ukomon being another searcher body that also adds to the aggro of the deck. By pretty much just being another body you could move out from raising and gain the benefits of the egg that you have it over, as well as being able to, well, be cheeky in turning out passing memory at 1 if you go first. And then that aside for the regular level 4s of the deck, obviously within the deck itself, you can choose to run Psychmon or Gazimon as floodgates where you could put them within your lineup, with both obviously being their respective floodgate effects to just be bodies on board to just screw with the opponent. And that's it for the rookie lineup. Now on to level 4s. And then for me, for Bakemons ends up being a 4-3 split between new BT20 and BT15 as the initial cores of the deck, with BT20 Bake obviously being the memory cheater for the Liberators, being able to cheat out Violets onto the board, and is another memory trick for on-delete gains. And then the BT15 Bake being able to also be a draw engine and establish trash, as well as giving a stack retail. And throughout the level 4 lineup, for me, is 3 copies of Soulmon from BT20, since it has the ability to, on play, grant retail to any of your Digimon on board, being a lot more well, being able to grant it to any stack on the board, as well as granting a inheritable that snipes out a level 4 as you establish something in trash. And for the most part, I'd say this is a pretty solid lineup. Though, obviously, another one to keep in mind that you could optionally put in, it'd be the structure deck Bake that has a blocker that is blocker. And that's it for the level 4s. Now on to the level 5 lineup. For the most part, I end up going pretty much the standard route, as the core level 5s is a 4-3 split between BT20 Phantomon and the new Metal Phantomon from BT20, with BT20 Phanto being a Liberator trait, also being searchable, and is the earliest instance of the execute keyword, allowing it to attack as long as it's a valid attacker, as well as and ending up deleting itself with the undelete, starting the full chain, as it's able to revive a level 4 lower ghost from trash. And then it also has the undelete inheritable to also revive a level 4 as well. While Metal Phantomon here ends up being a pseudo draw and extra draw and extra source for your bigger stacks, as well as being able to, well, being the only blocker in the deck. Though you also have the ability to, on play when Digivolve, to delete one of your own Digimon to also take out a level 5 or lower with it. While the on-delete is also pretty useful, as it ends up Digivolve one opposing Digimon. To round up the level 5 lineup, especially given how the top-end play plays, I end up running one copy of Chimeramon from BT8. Since it gets to make use of all those level 4s that you spawn out, at least 2, well, most of the time 2, and be able to attack for turn, and possibly for game. Though, it also allows you to recur some pieces, as it absorbs down another level 4 lower trait from level 4 lower from trash, to add to its stack on top of the DNA. Thus allows your top end to also gain some inheritables as well. Since it also, when it comes down, can also DP reduce as well. And that's it for level 5 lineup. Now on to level 6. For the most part, I end up playing around with this one. As for level 6s, ends up being a 4-1-1 split between Necromon, Anubismon, and Reapermon. Obviously, Necromon is the boss monster of the deck, being able to, well, be quite the attacker, since it ends up being quite the beast at Sec +1, while also having the execute body, being an execute body. And when it enters field, it is able to murk the opponent's lowest level on board. And while on play and on delete, allows you to revive a level 5 or lower ghost from trash. Anumasan is in here, given the deck's inherent purpleness, and also acts as a unique ability within the deck to recur resources, as you, again, set up the trash to revive for the cost, barring with the reduction, as well as constantly being a draw engine if you aren't able to take out anything with its deletion effect. And then Reaper here is also pretty good, in the sense that it is also a blocker body that also forces collisions, as well as being a ace killer on your turn, since within, its all turns is a gimmick that pretty much is an ace killer, for lack of a better term, given that that's pretty much the more apt way of describing it. Well, it's your turn, since if the opponent aces, Reapermon, while it's on board, practically goes first before anything else. So you pretty much get overflow while this is on here, guaranteed. And then if it ever gets lead, you're able to revive, get to take down a play cost for or lower Digimon or Tamer on board to go down with it. And that's it for the Digimon line. Oh, that's it for the level 6 lineup. Now for the level 7 lineup. And for me, it ends up being a 1-1 split between Shiny Gray Ruin mode and BLZ Blast mode Ace. Since, for the most part, the inclusion of Ruin mode here definitely fits within the deck, given that once it comes down, it's an instant blanket minus 5,000 to the opponent's board. And then whenever it gets, it is able to delete itself, either by being deleted or using its end of attack to take itself down with someone else on the opponent's board, and then recover 1, you pretty much also get to trigger your on deletes. And then Blast Mode Ace here also plays to the deck's inherent ability to stack the trash and allow you to recover 10 cards to top deck to also make use of later on, if every time it attacks. And that's it for the Digimon lineup. Now on to Tamers. And, starting off with the main Tamers of the deck. Ends up being a 2-3 split between BT16 and BT18 Violet and Boots and BT20 Violet, with both playing an integral part as different options, with BT18 Violet being the memory tamer of the deck, as well as allowing you to establish cards into trash as you pretty much draw one by recycling, pretty much, exchanging it, for lack of a better term. While the big hitter between the two is the new BT20 Violet, being the passive memory gain. And then during your turn, whenever it sees a Ghost Trait Digimon being deleted, by suspending her, you get to allow one of your Digimon to Digivolve up into a Ghost at a reduced cost of 2. Which, for the most part, plays pretty well, just barring that you do hit timing correctly on your inheribles and effects and on delete effects. To round up the Tamer lineup, it ends up being full playset of Analog Youth, given that obviously most of your higher end will, from your level 5s and up, do tend to delete themselves, so you get to capitalize on that by pretty much being able to hatch faster again, as well as capitalizing on establishing stuff in trash as you search for one Digimon off the top deck. And that's it for the Tamer lineup for within the deck. As for tech option, one idea that I've had floating around was the inclusion of EX7 Shoto. Given that, given that its generic use can also work, oddly enough, with Execute, as you grant piercing to that body. So if you manage to beat over something, you at least also get to go through, since regardless, even if it dies through the security check, it's still gonna die regardless. Albeit you do have to be careful, as again, you still go through security before Execute ends up taking the Execute body take itself out. And that's it for the Tamer lineup in mind. Now for the options to round it off. For the most part, I end up going for a 2-2-1 split with 2 copies of Apparition Legion, 2 copies of Wisdom Training, and 1 purple Scramble. And pretty much being, well, given the whole deck itself, being able to self-sufficient barring certain conditions, that would explain why utility is so low now. Though obviously, these still have their use. Wisdom Chain for digging, and then reduce evolution costs later. And then Purple Scramble to reduce evolution costs immediately, and then be able to recur pieces while your opponent has Digimon on board, and be able to respawn most of your level 3s if they're sitting in trash while you're on an empty board. While Apparition Legion here is still useful in the sense that it's still powerful in its own right. Obviously, with its security, being able to revive any level 5 or lower ghost from trash. Though, once again, Apparition Legion is subject to its mistranslation, as you are required to return 9 levels total's worth of Digimon from the opponent's trash to bot deck, and then you revive, optionally, a ghost with the same level that you returned, and then you immediately grant them Rush and Blocker. With this seeing most pairing with the level 6 and 3, so given that the key level 6 you want to bring back out with this is Necromon to get its revival effect, as well as being able to murk something when it comes back into play. As for tech options, for me, I end up scouting through most of the history of the available catalog, and obviously, we have a few other tools to work with. Since for utility-wise, we still have the likes of Vortex Resonance for search and Liberator searching, and then Evolution. This Mem Boost to establish stuff in trash and memory later on, as well as Glaive Mem Boost to recur a piece and also be further help future memory gain, and Calling from Darkness to kill off one of your own Digimon, or be a 1 cost revival if you don't have Digimon at all on board. And then as for other tech options, Black Sabbath from BT20 definitely can see use, as its main effect allows it to trash a card from hand to then delete a level 4 or lower, while its trash effect, you're seeing at 4 fewer cards in hand, allow it to be pay 6 costs and return itself to bottom deck, delete any opposing Digimon that's unsuspended. With the security effect that also can bomb any level 6 or lower on board. And another tech option would be Demonic Disaster, allowing you to delete one of your own Digimon to unsuspend one of your other purple Digimon on board, thus allowing you to mark one of your own to allow one of your own Digimon to unsuspend for 1 cost. And then, for the most part, its security effect also allows you to play out a level 3 purple Digimon, trash paying their memory costs, though you don't get to trigger their on plays, unfortunately. And well, that's it for the deck itself. Now on to combos. And now on to the combos. Starting off for your starting hand, for the most part, you do want to see a whole lot of ways to establish stuff early before you really pop off. Since, obviously, you don't want to see most of your searching rookies, and also your memory gain on delete inheribles. The Bakemons either for Draw Engine or Savaging Violets. Then obviously, to pair with that, Violets, and then, yep, one card from the pile. Analog Youth early to establish at least 2 cards. Also searching and having set up for later. And then Scramble and Wisdom Training for utility use as you continue to climb. And going down the line is just seeing your stack pieces to establish at least 1 stack to make use of for later on. And then the rest of the deck to have them come up whenever counts, with your low sends also being an alternative top end to work off of depending on the situation and the availability of them in hand. Overall, combo wise, the main goal is pretty much one that you build a stack with a whole payoff, as pretty much for the most part establishing tamers early, especially multiple copies of BG20 Violet, preferably, and Analog Use, as you pretty much, preferably wanting to see the BG20 egg, having a stack that consists of pretty much your memory gain inheritables, and then to climb up, which for the most case you do have more flexibility in, though preferably the BT20 Bake is one that you'd want to see. And then climb up into Phantomon, with Metal Phanto being an optional go if you want to draw more, since it's the 1 evil cost. To end off with Necromon as the big payoff to mark the first, the lowest level on the opponent's side first, then executing once turn passes, to then blow itself up and be able to revive bodies and be able to revive your bodies, and this is where the main combo ends up playing and comes into play, as for the most part you'd want to trigger Necro first to recur just anything. As for positioning wise, definitely say triggering off your mem inheritables first, then triggering Phantomon in that lineup to revive any of your level 4s from trash, then triggering off Necromon to revive either Melphanto or Phanto from trash, then triggering Demimera to then return Necro to hand, since in this board state you practically revive 2 bodies from the destruction of your 1, and then you're able to gain memory off of Analog Youth off of that, and then pretty much allows you to Digivolve one of the new bodies you spawned out, and most preferably establishing Necromon back on the field again to end any stragglers left on the board, and allows you to play into any ace plays that you have if need be, or be able to practically do it all over again to a lesser degree. And if you manage to get this combo down right, the opponent doesn't really stand a ghost of a chance as once you effectively play these right. Since for the most part, you are playing a lot around most of your executes effects to either go into, well, take out unsuspended Digimon with your execute bodies, or being able to smash into security and get taken out regardless to trigger your on deletes and other interruptions that you may play. And then obviously within the deck, you also have Anubis here to also send stuff to trash and be able to revive stuff to then also play into another alternate route. Though obviously, once Anubis has gone on board, you can't really, it's a lot less of a chances of being able to recur outside of scrambles. Then also, even another route you go through, since it doesn't specify the max level specifically, you can revive any of your level 2 of your level 4s from that one stack, immediately go into Chimera, and then recur any of your level 4 or 3 pieces underneath that stack, and then climb up again into Necro with a lot more stuff to work with. Even stacking multiple, gain 1 mem inheritables. Overall, the main idea of the deck is pretty much a lot about playing to what you have, as well as being able to benefit off of your stuff being deleted. And well, also, in addition, once again, as previously mentioned, you definitely want to also can play out Apparition Legion as a way to finish game, since once the opponent has preferably a level 6 and level 3 in trash, you're able to revive a level 6 and level 3 from there. With, obviously, as previously mentioned, Necromon is definitely the go-to for this, as you essentially spawn out a body that's able to execute when you pass turn, given that Necron has now been given Rush, and can now pretty much go for face and end the game. But overall, this deck definitely has such a fun playstyle to work off of, since you're constantly just playing around with the trash and reviving whenever you're reviving and benefiting from your on deletes. But yep, overall, that has been my look on the Ghost deck from 2.5 format. And well, closing us out, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to help with the algorithm. And join us next time as we go on to the next day towards the countdown. This is Cyberdraw, signing off.